The Afrikanerbond has expressed disappointment at the findings of retired Judge C.C. Kampepe's Commission of Inquiry into allegations of racism at the University of Stellenbosch. According to the Afrikanerbond, the report fails to engage on a factual basis with the allegations, but instead becomes a protest against Afrikaans, white people and Afrikaners. Well, let's discuss their reaction further now with the Chief Secretary of the Afrikanerbond, Jan Bosman. Mr. Bosman, good afternoon. Welcome to today. Thank you very much for your time. Is your disappointment with this report well placed?
We had a look at the report, and the report is 184 pages, but the majority of the report deals with transformation and not with the initial basis of the report into allegations of racism. So it does not deal with the two allegations of racism that was the cause for the commission to be set up, but rather it deals with the theory of transformation. And in fact, we had a count, and it's more than 400 references to transformation or transforming. And that is the whole purpose of this report, to get the theory of transformation. And in our view, it's transformation of English, only taking out Afrikaans of the tuition of the university. And I think in the bigger scheme of things, where we need to speak about diversity, and in the university's own definition of transformation, they refer to diversity. But this report only deals with transformation, and Afrikaans is the problem.
But isn't transformation necessary to handle dealing with racism in South Africa today? I mean, we have a history of racial division. We have a history of racism in this country. Therefore, we need transformation.
We do not deny that there's individual acts of racism, but then deal with individual acts on the individual basis. But you know, in this report, it is stated categorically that the University of Stellenbosch is within the is within the town of Stellenbosch, and I quote here, consisting of many conservatively, typically white Afrikaners who bear racist and other bigoted beliefs and attitudes. Now that is generalization as we've never seen before. When you take racism, act on the allegations, act on the facts of the matter. But what happened here is that we're dealing with theory, and in this theory, we see that Afrikaans is being made the scapegoat, and Afrikaans must make way for English.
But it's a fact that she found, according to her report, when interviewing various witnesses who gave evidence during this inquiry, that black people feel unwelcome at Stellenbosch University.
Are you asking me, or are you stating that is a fact?
Yeah, you can comment.
Now, when things of this nature are being discussed, it must be discussed with all the role players in mind, and we do not see that the role players being accused here are being given the opportunity to act on this matter. We know that Stellenbosch has got a problem with Afrikaans as the language of tuition, but then give a proper platform, give a proper discourse, which we're not seeing in this matter.
But she has a recommendation. Sorry, Mr. Bosman, but in this report, she has a recommendation that the university must consider reviewing the language policy, revising it from being exclusionary or exclusively Afrikaans. What is wrong with that in a diverse society?
There's no problem with that. But what is happening here is that Afrikaans is being made the scapegoat for allegations of racism. And I think you need to separate the two matters. Afrikaans is no longer a language of whites only. It's no longer a language of Afrikaners only. Afrikaans is also the language of the majority of the population of the Western Cape, including the majority of colored people. And if you exclude them, then Afrikaans, or then English, becomes the language of exclusion at the University of Stellenbosch.
Okay, how do you respond to one statement? Let's just take one statement that came out of the report, which says, and I quote, "Moreover, complaints of racialized exclusion through the Afrikaans language came up repeatedly during this investigation. How do you respond to that as the Afrikanerbond?
Once again, it's a theory of transformation that's being explained in this report. It's the theory of wokeness. It's the theory
this is not. No, sorry, sir. This is not a theory. These are complaints that were expressed to her, Justice Gampepe, when she was doing this inquiry. It's not a theory. It's what she was told.
No, that's correct. But again, it's the lived experience. It's not based on the actual facts of the matter. And you must now also look at the full report in the context.
What's the difference? Sorry, sir. What's the difference between lived experience and facts of the matter? What's the difference?
We need facts, and the report or the inquiry by Justice Gampepe was initially founded on two matters of racism, direct incidents of racism that was alleged to have taken place. She does not deal with those two incidents. She's dealing with generalizations. She's accusing the town of being racist. She's accusing Afrikaners of being racist. She's accusing Afrikaans of being language of exclusion. And that's a problem. And if you can't see the problem, that's a problem for us as Afrikaans-speaking people in this country.
Yeah, but if you can't see a problem as well, that even staff members of Stellenbosch feel that they are disproportionately prejudiced by the exclusionary use of Afrikaans on campus, then you have a problem with transformation in this country.
I do not have a problem with transformation in this country. In fact, if we define transformation, but she does not define transformation, she's using.
Why must she define? Why must she define transformation in 2022? In 2022, why should in South Africa why should we define transformation in 2022 when we know exactly what it means to address the imbalances of the past, particularly racism?
In the context of this report, transformation can only mean replacing Afrikaans with English, replacing white with black. And
she doesn't recommend that, sir. No, that's not fair. She doesn't recommend that. She recommends inclusivity. She does not say replace and do away with Afrikaans. Nowhere in her report she says that. She says include others like isiXhosa and English.
But if you read the context of the report and you see what she's recommending, then Afrikaans does not have a place at the University of Stellenbosch. In fact, Afrikaans is the problem at the University of Stellenbosch, and where we're asking for a proper debate, and this is now coming for some time now, where the university is not playing open cards with the Afrikaans population of the Western Cape. It's not playing properly about the language policy of the university. We're changing every time, and we're changing the goalposts every time. And this report is now another example of a goalpost being shifted. There's no place for Afrikaans at the University of Stellenbosch. Afrikaans is the problem at the University of Stellenbosch, according to the judge, according to the University of Stellenbosch.
I think there's another fact here that is coming out of the report, which we should not ignore, Mr. Bosman, and I want to read it. She says, it will be remiss of me not to caution the university that the process of reviewing the single language policy must pay careful attention to the negative duty on it as a public university to not deprive Afrikaans-speaking students of their enjoyment of the right to study in their preferred language. That doesn't sound like replacing Afrikaans. It doesn't sound like there's no place for Afrikaans in Stellenbosch University, but you've chosen to interpret it like that.
No, it's the example that we've had of the past where Afrikaans is being made the scapegoat for all the problems, and that's what we want to caution about. Let's have a proper discussion about this, because Afrikaans has got a certain place in the Western Cape. It's got a certain place at the University of Stellenbosch. In fact, it does not have a certain position there. It must be confirmed, and that's all that we ask. Gives Afrikaans some space. But according to this report, we are excluding people when we are speaking Afrikaans also in residences, also in the class, and that's not the intention. Afrikaans is an official language, but according to this report, it's a problem for a language of tuition. And that's what, in the bigger course of things, in the bigger scheme of things, also the language policy of the Department of Higher Education, this must be addressed.
But surely you would agree that with somebody who is not well conversant with the language Afrikaans, and they're working at the university, they come from isiXhosa background, it would disadvantage them if it is only used exclusively. I mean, surely you should have an understanding of that.
That I do not have any argument for. Afrikaans is not an exclusive language. In fact, Afrikaans can, and that's what we're trying to be, can be an inclusive language. But according to this, according to the report, according to the University of Stellenbosch, Afrikaans remains a problem, and the language or the tuition of Afrikaans, we see it being diminished day by day at the University of Stellenbosch. And this report plays into that hands of the university's management of taking out Afrikaans as a language of tuition. And you must remember that we must see this in the background of the Western Cape being demographically a Afrikaans majority province, where we need some form of higher education, tertiary education in Afrikaans. We're not asking for an exclusive Afrikaans university. In fact, that has not been on the table now. We're defending the status of Afrikaans as a language of tuition at the University of Stellenbosch. But that is now also being made a scapegoat in this report.
Yeah, but in this report, she doesn't say replace Afrikaans at Stellenbosch University. That's how I'm reading it. And she says include other languages, because all our official languages in South Africa have equal status anyway.
That I fully agree with. But when she's referring to the university's policy of transformation, she's referring, and I'm taking it here, to the inclusive, diverse, and transformed South Africa. But then the focus is on the transformed and not on the diverse. And that's where the problem started in this report and the contents of the report.
Yeah, but you should not be having a problem with transformation in 2022 as a South African if you support inclusivity and diversity. And that's where I'm going to have to leave it, Mr. Bosman. Thank you for your time. That's Jan Bosman. He's the Chief Secretary of the Afrikanerbond, reacting with disappointment as an organization to the report and the findings and recommendations of former Judge Sisi Khampepe about allegations of racism in Stellenbosch.